Hey guys, thanks for watching. Today we drive down to Camp Verde and stopped in at the Museum and Historical Society. We weren't really expecting much from such a small building. Quick in, out, you know what I mean. The entrance was decorated with this neat mural of sights of the area. You can see Montezuma's castle in the upper right. We met Lynette here. She was a wealth of information on the area and history, and advised us to stop at Fort Verde State Park, just down the street. If you are in Camp Verde, stop in and see Lynette. You will not regret it. Fort Verde. Well, it certainly was an interesting stop. You put a uniform on some people, and, well, I'll explain that in a minute. First, imagine you drive down the road to see the fort, and you see this sign, Dead End. And at this time of day in the shade, you don't see the Fort Verde State Historic Park sign just behind, or a parking lot of any consequence. But on the left, you see a large Fort Verde sign, well lit, and a nice welcome sign. I don't know about you, but I find the welcome sign is usually at the entrance of any establishment. Also, there's a nice parking lot here, so we pull in. Notice museum entrance, located ahead on right. Everything is relevant, isn't it? We also see the gate to the area ahead on the right. An increase in miners and homesteaders in the 1870s, it resulted in a conflict with the Apache and the Yavapai in the area. And so the military established Fort Verde to assist with the problem. If you're looking for the wooden stocks or stockades, like at Fort Boonesboro, you won't find them here. Although originally it consisted of 22 buildings, only 4 survived until 1956. And then the locals started caring for them as a small museum. Jill and I walked into the gift shop and realized this isn't a gift shop. But we took our time to look over the displays, lots of neat old things. Notice the whiskey barrel and the bathing tub in the corner. Guess they had the essentials there. We looked around here for a bit, then started on to the next building, which I believe to be the bachelor officers' quarters, just next door. But while Jill and I were between the two buildings, 2 park employees came up on us fast. One staying back about 40 feet, like he was going to block our exit or something. The other guy ran right up to us almost, then loudly and obviously attempting to be intimidating and smartass, said, "Hey, you need to go over to the visitor center and pay your $7 before just wandering around our property." Wow. Testosterone? Weak-minded? I just really don't understand. Why not something simple like, "Hi, have you been to our visitor center yet?" Or, "Hi, do you guys have a pass or need some help?" No. Instead, it was instant and impolite assumption that we just wanted to avoid paying $7 to tour these very highly prized and valuable buildings. I simply pulled out my Arizona State Park pass and showed it to the Neanderthal, and I told him I would be happy to take my keister over to the visitor center and pay $7. Please just show me where. To which he replied, you don't need to pay with that." Jill and I did go to the visitor center, though, and registered our pass and explained our dissatisfaction with the Neanderthal and his sidekick's welcome. While the park manager, I believe, was very polite about the situation and assured us that it would be addressed, who really knows? If you're a history buff, though, I think you'll enjoy a short stop here. Just remember, the visitor center is on the dead-end street. And please, don't feed the Neanderthals their ego. It makes them dependent. However, on our way out of the visitor center, we noticed this painting, which, in my opinion, was excellent. We inquired about it for some reason, and guess who the artist is? It was Lynette, from the Camp Verde Museum. Come to find out, it was also she who painted the mural, or a part of it. We were so impressed we went back to the museum and talked to Lynette just a little more. Lynette, thank you for your time. Close to Fort Verde Historic Park is Montezuma's Castle, Montezuma's Well, and the Bar V Ranch with more petroglyphs. Montezuma's Castle, again, we used our military pass. If you're a veteran or serving in the military, we highly recommend it. There's a link in the description below. And the military pass can be used to cover amenity fees at BLM lands. Strange thing, this site has absolutely nothing to do with the Aztecs or their ruler Montezuma. It was built by the Sinagua Indians and has been abandoned for over 400 years. It's believed that the Hopi and the Yavapai are descended from the Sinagua. These dwellings, though, are neat. They're built high into the cliffs, about 100 feet above the Beaver Creek. The dwellings are 5 stories high. It has 20 rooms in it, and that's quite a feat for people with only simple tools. Impressive. Imagine, though, collecting each day's firewood, water, crops, and then climbing and carrying it up a 100-foot cliff on an improvised ladder at the end of each day's work. These guys were hard workers for sure. The beams for the floors and the roofs, they were made from the white sycamore that grows along Beaver Creek. Sycamore wood can be very heavy and hard to cut, even with modern tools. It would have been a task to raise these beams more than 100 feet off the base of the cliff. One thing to note or call attention to here, while other national parks actually encourage exploration or clearly communicate to not enter areas or traffic off of the trail, this is not the case here at Montezuma's Castle. These signs, they've been cleverly camouflaged to blend in with the ground. And well, if you're used to looking up at the cliffs, they may not be visible. Please watch your step and stay on the improved trails. Our next stop is the Bar V Ranch, where we used our Arizona State Parks and Trail Pass. If you're going to travel to Arizona with its many beautiful parks, get this pass. Do yourself a favor. The link is in the description below. By the way, the park staff here was very friendly, knowledgeable, and happily they answered all the questions we had. Kudos to the staff here. Bar V used to be a cattle ranch, and this is a photo of the original ranch house. All that remains today, sadly though, is the fireplace. It has the Bar V brand emblazoned with stones. The trail from the visitor center follows the creek for maybe a half a mile or so. It's an easy walk. The creek is lined with large cottonwoods, and the banks and flats are covered in native grasses. And be careful, the silverleaf nightshade, related to potatoes, is plentiful. Note, while some of the wildlife can eat the small yellow fruits, they are very toxic to humans. The Indians, though, did chew on the roots to relieve toothaches. My advice, be careful, don't even handle these berries, and watch small kids if they're with you. If I'm correct, this is Dave. He's one of the staff here, maybe a volunteer. He's very professional, friendly, and a wealth of information about the plants and the petroglyphs. People like this make these little adventures a pleasure. This is Devil's Claw. It's quite common in Death Valley, and here evidently. The Indians used the seed pods to make baskets for the dark colors, and the plant provided many different medicines for use. And this is Jimson weed. It's another relative of the nightshade family. It has a lot of medicinal uses, and the Indians used this plant in their rituals to help with the dreams, or should I say maybe hallucinations. This plant can be dangerous though, be careful. These petroglyphs, though, they're not just a bunch of graffiti or random carvings by kids. They're amazing. Among these is a solar calendar that's over 1,000 years old. There are 2 shadow stones, I only captured the one here, which leave a band of light which falls across certain indicators on the glyphs at certain times of the year, and that timing is important, as the light and shadows only fall over a select set of glyphs for a few moments. They indicate the solstice, the equinox, time to plant and harvest, and when to expect summer rains. For example, this stair step, each point indicates a significant event in the calendar, and the lines run through the points to indicate those events. The swirl at the end indicates a time for spring or summer rains, and these circles, perhaps representing the sun, I don't know, is the summer solstice. These symbols represent corn and maybe the tassels on top of the stalks. The timing seems to coincide with the natural planting and harvesting time of corn. There also appears to be a sky view or overhead view of the map of this valley. It's nearing the end of the day now, but Montezuma's well, it's only a couple of miles away. So here we go. It's a small area and shouldn't take a lot of time to view. We park and walk the short distance up the trail to the well's overlook. It is scenic and peaceful here. I can only imagine what life must have been like for these people 500 to 1,000 years ago. It's at this point, about 4:05 to 4:10 on the trail, that we're greeted by a park ranger. Maybe though greeted isn't really quite the right word. The paved portion of the trail was narrow, and the ranger approached Jill much closer than 6 feet. Jill politely stepped off of the edge of the walk to maintain that 6 feet. It's all the rage right now, you know? Omicron, COVID. Well, Ranger Danger would have none of it. In a very unkind and unpleasant tone, Jill was ordered back on the trail. Guess it really didn't matter that this area is all rock and it's on the top of the well. There is no flora. But Ranger Danger's unkindness didn't stop there. Without any provocation or further need, the ranger explicitly told us, the park closes at 5, and if you're still here, you will be trespassing. And further, emphasized that the local law enforcement could be at the gates waiting to arrest us, trespassers. Wow. Jill and I are shocked at this unnecessary and very unwelcomed threat of a charge of criminal trespass. To me, a simple hi. I would just like to remind you all that we close at 5 today would have been sufficient. Personally, I think Pat has been chewing on the nightshade or could use some of that Jimson weed. Chill out. We continued our tour, though there isn't really much left to see here except for the pond and the cliff dwelling. The more we thought about Ranger Danger Pat's welcome, the more concerned we became, actually. Why were we threatened in the first place with trespass? Does she exert this control over all visitors to the public lands or the national monument? Realize Montezuma's well is a national monument, not a national park as created by Congress, but rangers are law enforcement, acting under the color of law. Think 42 United States Code Section 1983. Dangerously close in my opinion. Regardless, I hardly believe it complies with the policy or the, what would you call that, the conduct approved by the Department of the Interior. Upon leaving, before 5 p.m., mind you, we decided to have a dialogue with Ranger Pat and express our concern. Knock, knock. How are you doing?
Oh, hello.
So Pat, my wife and I were talking after our discussion with you, And we became concerned because
Okay.
we've never entered a park and been threatened with trespass. And it's concerned us greatly. And then to be told law enforcement would be waiting for us.
No, I didn't. Okay, I said sometimes law enforcement are here at the end of the day. Look, sir, my point in that whole thing, if you don't mind, I'll just step out here for a second. Break my arm. My point in this whole conversation is just when people are out having a good time, they lose track of time. And if you are in a park after hours, that is seriously what could happen.
Ma'am, I am 60 years old, and I know what trespass is, and I know the law very well. And to be threatened with trespass without having performed anything illegal or potentially illegal, it concerns me. And I want to make sure that when I leave here, you are not going to call someone and tell them that I was trespassing.
No, I never said that. I said if you're
Ma'am,
in
you
the
said
park,
if I'm here, it will be
I said
trespass.
If you're in the park after hours, it becomes a trespass in a national park. And it is.
Do you
If the
tell that to
national-
every person that visits your park?
What I do is by 4:15, I start telling people, hey, just so you know, this is when the park closes. You need to be out because it becomes
Is
a
that not
trespass.
sufficient?
You know, to some people, no.
Okay, then those people I suggest you arrest for trespass. People like she and I who are obeying the law and the park rules, we do not need to be told we will be charged with trespass. Do you understand that?
You know, I get what you're saying. I fully do. But if you are a person that is not necessarily
If I
paying
were a
attention-
serial rapist, that would be another thing. If I were a person who
talking
was not,
about
we
I'm
are
telling
talking
you what
about
the law
violating
is
the
in
law,
this park.
and a person under the color of law telling me that I will be trespassing. Pat, that's
I'm
dangerous
sorry?
ground for you.
I disagree because the person who told me to let people know what to do and that they have to be out, it's law enforcement.
And they told you to tell people you'll be trespassing.
I don't know exactly the words. I mean, I'm sure he did because that is a thing. When a park says you cannot be, it's like if there's a business and they close at 5 and you walk into a business, then somebody
The last
could do
time
something.
Walmart's told me I would be trespassing if I were there after they closed, I can't remember. Pat,
Well, for me, it felt like not welcome to our park. This is really a cool historical thing. Please take your time, but make sure you observe our rule. It didn't feel welcoming. I felt like here
And
we are at a
trespass is a crime. And to threaten anyone with...
So is being in a park after hours, sir.
That's what I'm saying. Trespass is a crime. And when that occurs, feel free to exercise every legal authority that you have. But do not tell people that have not committed any violation or any crime that you will be trespassing. That is
It's
unprofessional.
unwelcoming
It's
And I apologize if you felt unwelcome, but I will tell you that when I do this, and we worked here 7.5 months. Another time, this is we're at 7 months now, and this is what we do. And almost every time we say that to somebody, they say, "Thank you for letting us know. You're right. We may have missed the time."
In closing, all I can do is recommend that Pat review the Simple Ethics for the National Park Service, written by Bruce Schundler in 2009. People don't just visit parks. They have special experiences in them. They have the best days of their lives in them. Simply stated, the Park Service has been entrusted with the hopes and dreams of both visitors and employees, and the memories and impressions of millions of people every year. Pat, you've failed. To the next visitors, I would ask that you please be more kind and treat others like you would like to be treated. Take care, guys.